Ashley St. Clair posted this on Twitter. You can see it here. 1,300, 250 of them got into City Hall. They were, according to this article, promised green cards and work permits. I look at this, and these are criminal aliens. The reason we know that most of them, not all, but most of them are likely criminal aliens is that they were seeking green cards. So they're not here legally. Perhaps some of them may be on tourist visas. I don't know. I think the average American starts to look at this stuff, and you have to realize, well, I shouldn't say it this way because I hope Donald Trump wins, and I hope it's not the case. But I think many people may start to believe there is no government. The border is wide open. National Guard was attacked, and they still allowed these people into the country. The federal government is trying with all of their might to bring in criminal aliens in defiance of the law, of state law and federal law. What is the purpose of government? Of, for, and by the people. We have a constitution. The federal government is supposed to serve the people. It is supposed to be comprised of the people to protect us, to help us maintain order, but it's supposed to be fairly weak. State government should be doing the same thing. What do we have now? The federal government is doing everything in its power to destroy the fabric of this country and the lives of its constituents, the lives of the people who are supposedly making the government up. They allowed how many millions in the past few years? What is it like?
They're saying 7, but it's probably higher.
Those are the ones that we know about, the encounters.
You hear 7 to 10, but it's
7
must
to 10
be more.
million non-citizens.
Yeah, that's what I'm also hearing.
And the thing that I think too that's crazy about this is, Tim, is because my family founded a Fortune 500 home building company, and everybody always asks me, how are housing companies and how are all these houses so expensive these days? Well, partially it's because of all this immigration, in my opinion, because what happens is you have a lot of these lower income immigrants come into the country, they take up the housing stock, they take up the demand, they push up prices. I think this is also going to cause inflation with regard to housing. And to your point, when you don't enforce the laws and you allow people to come in, and I'm not saying one thing or the other, I'm just saying the facts of supply and demand are, if you have the same amount of supply or lower supply, which you have for housing, and you have greater demand, you're going to see also the cost of goods, in my opinion, go up in this country and continue to go up, specifically housing.
This is something that the immigration minister in New Zealand just talked about. New Zealand is a very, very small country anyways, and they were actually talking about restricting legal immigration, restricting short-term work visas. I'm looking at Chris because he edits all my articles. I'm like, remember when this happened?
Yeah.
And they were saying, we can't just have, the number they were saying is like 170,000 people come to the country because we can't absorb them. Our economy can't handle it. We don't have the housing. The other thing that bothers me a lot about when we talk about migration is that the government uses migration as this way to say like, oh, look, it's solving all these problems that we are not willing to address. So one of the things that comes up a lot with birth rate is that the American birth rate is declining. There's a lot of reasons for that. Some of it's cultural attitude. Some of it is that millennials are like, I can't afford this. But instead, you'll see these articles about birth rate declining, and then you'll have the same organization say, but don't worry because, migration helps us. So we're not in crisis because rather than encouraging and helping American families have their own children, we're just bringing in new people who aren't from here and may not even be here legally. Like they act like this is a solution to problems when actually they could offer, child tax care credits. They could do all kinds of things, but instead they're like, it's just easier for us to replace you. And that sounds horrible to me. Like that doesn't sound like a government that rallies around and behind its people.